Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Revival of America podcast. This is Jenny. I'm the owner and the host of the Revival of America. Today we have Field Mcconnell in the house, everybody. So please, if you have a question for Field, feel free to raise your hand, and I will start unmuting your mics at some point in this podcast. Or if you can't ask Field your question because you can't speak, because you might be at work or something, please write your question underneath his logo on the wall. Also, too, everybody, I'm going to tell you again and again and again, and I'm sure you're getting sick of it. Please be careful who you listen to, who you follow, and what you're putting into your mind, everybody. Now more than ever, we're seeing the craziness. We're seeing the turn of the tide where we thought somebody we've been following for a long time is giving out good information may not be on the right side with us. So please, everybody, tighten up that circle. I am even going to be tightening mine up even more. I am going to be putting on the wall, my channel wall here, the people that I am going to be posting from. And it's pretty much my guests that I have on because remember, it's like Alpha Warrior said the other day, consistency is key, and that's everything in life, everybody. If you are following somebody that is consistent in what they have been saying and they haven't turned the page on you or gone to the other side, then you're on the right track. But if you start seeing the script being changed, then you might want to think that that's a red flag. So please, everybody, we are getting, we're seeing that, right? And I'm getting a lot of information in the background that X is a misinformation, disinformation, war playground right now. Not even playground, I'd say battlefield. So be careful, everybody. Yes, I am over there on X, but I'm pretty consistent with the people that I listen to. However, I have been going into some of these spaces and listening to what they're putting out there, everybody. And I'm telling you, the propaganda, the hate, the division, the doom, the gloom, the fear mongering, the blackpilling is absolutely terrifying for those of you that don't have the strong minds that are ready for this, or for those that are looking for the truth, that are literally maybe new to this movement. And I just feel horrible for those souls because they are being misled, misguided, and misinformed. So please, everybody, I can't tell you enough. Be careful more now than ever. This is what they want. So know in the back of your mind that this is the division, the hate that they're trying to propagate out there. So please be careful, everybody, and watch for my post if you want to maybe pay attention to some of the people that I'm listening to, and obviously my guests and the people that I'm posting from. So because I'm actually kind of finding that some of the people that I may have been listening to myself may not be giving out the information. They're looking at the narrative switch. So the narrative is switching now. Trump's a puppet. All the hate out there that they're propagating about him being a puppet and all this, just other stuff. The hate, right? Don't listen to it, everybody. If I can tell you anybody and anyone to follow, it would be our president, Donald J. Trump. If that is the only person you are following, you are on the right track. So please keep it simple, everybody. Don't confuse yourself. But there are a lot of people out there that are flipping the script, turning the page because it's whether it's clickbait, whether it's they're getting paid for it, whatever it may be. Be careful, everybody. And I'm sorry I say it all the time, but it's because I care about you. I care about your mind and because this is a psychological war, everybody, where you're going to go down this path, because it's going to get more intense as these days continue to go on. So I'm not only here to, you know, look out for you guys, but also my guests as well as myself and here in my channel. Also, to everybody, if you get a random text, email, or a DM saying that somebody's claiming to be me, know that it is not me. I will not randomly reach out to you, ask you if you're ready for the scare event, finances, crypto, anything like that. Please, please, please block and report them. Let me know so I can make sure they are not here in my channel. Because again, I'm looking to protect you, my guests, myself, and my channel from these trolls, scammers, and agitators. Also, if you come into the podcast late or you want to share some of the guests with friends and family because they're looking to maybe try to understand what's going on, we are being listened to, everybody, in over 100 countries. So please feel free to follow the podcast hosts or any of the social medias because I post the shows on everything. Okay. So the social medias are Jenny JERREAD Facebook, at Jenny_JERREAD X, at JJERREAD Rumble, at JJERREAD True Social, at JJERREAD Instagram, the Revival of America right here on Telegram. The Revival of America on YouTube, and TikTok is at the official JERREAD. The podcast hosts are iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, Breaker, PocketCast, Podbean, Riverside, and Amazon Music. And also, too, we put them on the website, so you can go to therevivalofamerica.com and watch them over there as well. And then while you're over there at the website, sign up for the newsletter, everybody. It is free. We put out the weekly show lineup with the guests and the times, as well as the updates on the podcast. And last but not least, everybody, if you have a story or a journey to tell, please reach out to me at TROA submissions at yahoo.com. And that stands for the Revival of America submissions at yahoo.com. And let me know a little bit of your story. We do vet these stories. Give me a little paragraph to whatever, what it's about. We will reach out to you, talk to you about it, and your voice will come on the show and tell your story, your journey. Because remember, everybody, it's your voice, your story that's going to help shape this new world we're coming into. And I think people think that, because I get a lot of long emails describing the story, just give me a short synopsis, everybody, because I think also they're thinking that I'm going to be the one sharing the story. No, I want your voice to come on and share your story, because it's just more real when it's your voice, right? Telling your story. So again, it's TROA submissions at yahoo.com. And with that, everybody, Field is in the house. I would like to welcome Field to the room. How are you, Field?
Well, I'm okay. How are you, Jenny?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. A lot of stuff is going on. What are your thoughts on this whole Iran and US thing, the bombings?
Well, I think they were warned by Mr. Trump, were they not? I mean, that's my
Yes.
thought. That is
Yes,
not
you're
a
correct.
question. Go ahead.
No, no,
Yeah.
no, you're correct.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
yeah, and I don't want to be obscene, but he has a motto called FAFO,
Yep.
and that stands for fuck around and find out. And I don't think that Donald Trump, since he's been in office for a number of years, I don't think he's ever been unkind or not given people a warning what the price is to pay for certain crimes. One of the certain crimes that I'm most passionate about is global child trafficking. And I didn't say just American children, black and yellow, red and white. They are precious in his sight, not only in the sight of God, but in the sight of Trump. And Melania Trump apparently had a brush with trafficking at one point when she was a model. And, she doesn't have that problem anymore. She's married to the president. But I think it's a full-time job being a podcast host or even being a guest, because you have to prepare, you have to think, and you have to try to forgive the perpetrators. And the other area of focus for me, besides international child trafficking, is uh, treason, Treason. And I was doing some research this morning on the Alfred P. Murrah, Oklahoma City bombing. And in one source where I was reading about it, it said it was the biggest domestic terrorism in U.S. history. Now, I don't want to correct that source because I'm just, I'm just me. I'm 75 and I've seen a lot of, I've done some things. Um, there's also some things I've never done. I've never harmed a child. I've never been unkind to a lady. And I just want to set the record straight, and the people in the chat room can vote after that. I mean, there's not going to be a literal vote, but I think the biggest act of domestic terrorism was not the Alfred P. Murrah building in April. I think it was the 19th of April of 1995. I think it was 9/11. And you know, some people out there that are fast asleep that think that the attack of 9/11 was not a domestic attack. Well, those people are wrong. And on my resume, I spent 16 months being disadvantaged by the Justice Department in Florida. because Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, and Tony Evers, the governor of Wisconsin, colluded in violating my constitutional rights. Of course, back then we were not a constitutional republic, and I'm talking about November 4th of 2019, the day I was arrested, which started a series of incarcerations and extraditions. Well, first of all, my knowledge of the domestic terrorism on 9/11 comes from my own sister. My sister called me. I think I've told this many times on but I see your chat room's expanding. There's a lot more people today than I've seen last week. Um, uh, my sister was very highly placed at the Department of Justice, and I explained to my sister how she, as the at one point in her career, she was a lifelong bureaucrat. At one point in her career, she was the director of the U.S. Marshal Service, and they had a little bitty problem. In the state of Hawaii, there's no federal penitentiary. There's federal court, but if the federal court found someone or some group of someone's to be guilty of a felony, they had no place to hold them in Hawaii, so they had to send them by air back to typically California, but somewhere in the domestic U.S. And the airlines changed their policy, and they would no longer let the marshals accompany, one or more prisoners on a flight if they were shackled and handcuffed. And that was sort of understandable. And let me tell you why it's understandable if somebody's not from an airline background. If you have an emergency on the ground or immediately after landing, you got to do an immediate evacuation of the aircraft as expeditiously as possible, hoping that no passengers would trip over each other or plug up the doorway or the overwing exit. And so my sister called me in December of 1988 and told me about that problem. And I said, well, that's no problem. I said, all you have to do is get some obsolete airliners that were no longer efficient enough for the airlines to want to operate. And then you put a black box in, and it's sometimes called the Boeing Uninterruptible Autopilot. And then, your passengers, this would be a flight going from Hawaii to the mainland with nothing but federal prisoners on board. And even if they stormed the cockpit, they couldn't take control of the airplane because the Boeing Uninterruptible Autopilot or the Airbus Uninterruptible Autopilot. In Russia, there's an aircraft manufacturer named Sukhoi, Sukhoi, and the Russians are rather shrewd. The Russians took an on-the-shelf BUAP and stuck it in their brand new Sukhoi regional jets, which made them no longer. Well, the BUAP, what it does is the first thing it does is when it's triggered, it turns off every radio or transmission capable electronic components so they couldn't transmit. It also arms a system, and I always have a hard time remembering the proper name of that, but I'll probably get it here in a minute. It's a system. It's got three positions of strength. Position number one, and it just came to me, air tranquilizing injector. That's a tough one for me to remember. But you can dial a dose, and the dose can be step number one, which is enough to calm everybody on the aircraft down. Step number two is there's enough gas, put colorless, odorless, and tasteless gas introduced to the cabin that's pressurized through the air conditioning system. And step number 2 would put everybody on board the aircraft to sleep. And step number 3 would cause every passenger on the airliner to die. And, I'm the source of, meaning it started with me. I explained this to my sister, who ostensibly was a legitimate politician, if anything like that ever existed before Donald Trump came along. And I I could go into a court because now we're a constitutional republic, and I'm looking forward to the 4th of July. I think Trump will be surprising all of us with what he is arranging. Um, but our courts now have to be constitutionally compliant. And so I don't fear walking in any courtroom that's constitutional compliant and telling the truth about how the aircraft were electronically hijacked on 9/11. The 4 aircraft, and they were replaced by 4 drones. And the airliners, which include American 11, American 77, my college classmate, Chick Burlingame, was the captain of American 77, and he never surrendered his aircraft to Muslim terrorists. In fact, they would have been dead too, because even a Muslim terrorist, if they put the ATI, air tranquilizing injector, on step number 3, everybody that's not a crew member with supplemental oxygen is going to be dying quickly. So the hogwash that America has been believing since the morning of 9/11 is just that. It's horse manure or cow manure or maybe bull something. It's all false. The attack on 9/11, and I think off the top of my head, there were 2,998, I think, victims that were known and recognized on that day. And of course, we started a couple wars over in the Mideast to punish the Muslims who did not do 9/11. So who did it? Well, for starters, George H.W. Bush and some cutthroats in the deep state government of the United States. One of those was my sister, one of them was Hillary Clinton, and one of them was Janet Reno. And this information that I'm just passing along to 100 countries today, I would love to be invited to a Muslim nation to do a presentation on why Muslim terrorists had nothing to do with 9/11. And yet that would not bring back I think it's measured in millions of people that were killed in the wars that started when George W. Bush responded to 9/11 by going into the Mideast and punishing people who were not guilty. I think in a perfect world, which may or may never exist, in a perfect world, the guilty parties, the perpetrators, would be dealt with. And the victims, in this case, on the morning of 9/11, the victims, which were the Muslim terrorists, they were patsies. They didn't do it. They couldn't do it. It was done electronically, and they didn't know how to do it. They also didn't know how to fly the airplane because their only experience flying airplanes was either in light single-engine aircraft or in simulators. And so when we're going to be talking about the Oklahoma City bombing today, when I get to the point where I say there was a time in history, 1995, where it was considered the most horrific domestic terrorist case that existed in U.S. history, yeah, that's probably true, as long as the history stopped on April 19th of 1995. But then on September 11th of 2001, we had a terrorist bombing or attack that was much more deadly, and it also started several wars. So is that a fair enough background on the Alfred P. Murrah building in Oklahoma City? I can get into more details or we can go to questions. What's your preference, Jenny?
No, it sounds good to me. You did great, Field. We can go in a little bit more detail. I don't see any questions right now or hands. So, everybody, if you guys have questions for Field, please raise your hand. He's here with us every Monday for about 90 minutes. So, either you can write it under his logo on the wall or you can raise your hand and I will unmute your mic. But I real quickly want to say, kind of in the effect of what's going on, real quickly. Everybody, just again, it goes back to because I'm seeing a lot of stuff coming out right now. There's now threats going on to, I don't know, they want us, I'm just reading this stuff, it's coming through. So, hang on a second, real quickly. Imminent threat to Iran of Iranian attack on a base over there in Qatar. So everybody, we need to stay on high alert, pay attention, and remember, stay out of the noise. We say that all the time. Trump has been approved a special counsel for the 2020 election. So remember, they have to create wars and all this other BS to get us distracted from what is really going on. So that is huge with the court appointed information regarding the 2020 election. That's big because once that stuff comes out, everybody's going to realize that it was fake and it's null and void, all that stuff. So pay attention, everybody. Head on a swivel. If you don't have to go too far, I know there's a lot of travel advisories going on right now, but just be careful and feel to the 9/11 point that you're talking about. What we're seeing overseas right now transpiring. Do you feel within here in the United States that this is going to provoke a 9/11 style attack here on the U.S. soil? We know 107 talks a lot about the nuclear scare event, the Cuban Missile Crisis. What are your thoughts on
Yeah.
this? Do you think the situation that we're seeing transpire right now over in Iran could catapult that and we can start seeing that here in the States? Because I'm hearing a lot of these sleeper cells have now been activated. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, uh, once I was watching TV and whatever TV channels they claimed they were fair and balanced. TV channels have never been fair and balanced, and they've generally never been right. I mean, they talked about 9/11 as an attack by Muslims, and it wasn't. And I'll go to any constitutional courtroom, and I will argue anyone who thinks they know more about 9/11 than I do, and I don't think there's any cause for fear. That's what's been running the United States of America and the people living in the United States of America for a long, long time. We always have to be afraid of something. As far as the domestic terror, I think there's 17 cities that have a fair population of terrorists from outside the U.S. But if I know it, Donald Trump knows it, and if they start it, Donald Trump will end it. Um, I hope many of your listeners know that in the 17 cities where they think there's the most potential for a terrorist attack, we've already got active duty military. Let me explain that. All 50 states have an Army National Guard or an Air National Guard flying unit, and those people are reservists, or they're called guardsmen, but they can be activated anytime the president, in this case, President Trump, when any time that the president and his military advisors, which are collectively known as white hats, when they see a threat to our nation, they craft a response. And it was probably 6 months ago. This is an open question because I don't know everything, but I've heard a lot of everything. The Air National Guard and the Army National Guard were activated to active duty, and they were positioned at 17 cities around the U.S. And many times they were staying in luxury hotels, which might seem like, an unnecessary expense. Well, how come illegal aliens, people that sneak into our country with no paper, how come they were put up in luxury hotels? Doesn't make any sense. So, no, I don't think, that the bad people can plan all they want. But for one of the most recent preparations for potential of harm to Americans' soil or Americans' facilities or American citizens, uh, the U.S. military is way ahead of these people that come in from other countries that just want to do ill will to people randomly. And, I want to go back. I don't want to offend anybody, but I'm quoting President Trump. He has that motto, FAFO. And if people don't take him seriously as the president when he says we will defend our citizens, probably you should listen to him because he's telling you the truth. Now, I live about 60 miles southeast of Minneapolis, and over the last 2 weeks, and keep in mind I'm retired, I don't have to go to work, but I do work sometimes 18 hours a day trying to sort all this stuff out and be able to broadcast it, especially since for the last couple of years I've been on JENNI JERREAD show, which now goes to 100 nations. And so many of the people listening to my voice in those other nations are Muslims. And they probably like the sound of some informed American saying the Muslims had nothing to do with 9/11. And if that seems like a boast, it's not a boast. If it seems like it's hogwash, it's not hogwash. And I commit to going to any constitutional court and arguing this against anybody or any collection of anybody's. Keep in mind, on the morning of 9/11, the sophisticated hardware that allowed the aircraft to be remotely controlled, hence the term Boeing Uninterruptible Autopilot, that was not produced in a Muslim nation. It was produced, in the case of the American system, it was produced by General Electric, which raises the question, well, why isn't it called the General Electric Uninterruptible Autopilot? Well, I guess that would be a good question for Jeffrey Immelt. I'll spell the last name, Immelt, because that system was contracted for. Boeing asked General Electric to build the structure or the infrastructure electronically that would allow any fly-by-wire and any glass cockpit airliner to be remotely controlled, in addition to being impervious to human hijackers. Boy, that was tiring, Jack. I don't even know if impervious is even correct. Yeah, and you see, I'm not looking at my computer. I'm looking out the window at nature, and I've got a gardening tip. I'm just trying to say something lighthearted. I'll get right back on the subject, but I've seen hummingbirds and a bunch of butterflies that seem to be attracted to my Japanese tree lilacs. And Japanese tree lilacs are beautiful, and they make your yard smell like a perfume factory when they're blossoming. And mine are blossoming right now. And the monarch butterflies, and I think there's one called a cabbage white butterfly. Every type of butterfly I see in my yard is zeroing in on a Japanese tree lilac. So if somebody wants to attract butterflies, you can go to a nursery, and if they don't stock Japanese tree lilac trees, they can certainly order you one or two or three. And that not only is it beautiful, they smell good, for about the 2 weeks when they're being the most active. and they're beautiful to look at. And it's I'm looking at a little bird out there that I think is a hummingbird. No, it's I I had one in my yard when I bought this house 15 years ago, and then I had a lady enter my life whose name was Denise Irene Clark, and after a brief, what some people would call courtship, I don't like that word. It sounds confusing. After we met, and that was sort of a random meeting, and I've explained that before. Uh, she was 49, she'd never been married, and I was 65, and I like to refer to myself as a serial groom. I'd been married 3 times and ditched 3 times, but Denise married me, and sadly, she died 5 years ago. But you know, she may be gone, but her spirit's still here, because now instead of one Japanese tree light, there's 13 of them in my yard. So it really does smell nice, and it reminds me that I once had a wonderful wife, and I've been, what do you call it when somebody doesn't have a wife anymore? Uh,
Widower.
what is that
Widow.
word?
Widow.
Yeah, widower. Yeah.
Widower.
Well,
Yep.
yeah, I guess I don't like certain I mean, I know what it is, and I'm living it, and it's not much fun. But let's get over to having some fun with your chat room if they have any questions. Or did you have any more questions, Jenny?
No, I didn't. I just wanted to see, that would, thank you for the response. What your thoughts are on us seeing a potential um, attack, 9/11 attack here on our soil. What are your thoughts on that? And then we'll go to questions.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think it's virtually impossible, because any nation that would want to, for whatever reason, want to harm Americans on American soil, they're going to pay a big price. Um, and that little skiff, that little battle over there in Iran and Israel, that was flown 4,000 miles from Whiteman Air Force Base in Sedalia, Missouri. They went nonstop. They did a stealth attack. They were not detected. And the nuclear processing plants in Iran became basically fertilizer. I mean, they were destroyed. And I really respect Donald Trump, and I don't respect very many politicians. In fact, I gave a lesson to a young man yesterday. I could tell in the first 2 questions he asked me, I could tell that at age 20, he was very well informed and is quite intelligent. And he said, "Where do you get all this knowledge?" And I said, "Well, you don't get it in public schools or public universities, because they're not allowed to teach it." But I said, "I'm going to write down 3 things on this piece of paper. And then when you get home from this, there was a wedding reception. I said, when you get home, or if you have a phone on you, you can do it right now. Look up a historical document named the Balfour, Balfour doctrine. And that was sort of the intellectual birthplace of what became Israel. Then take a look at the thing that happened in 1871 here in America. It's called the Organic Act of 1871. And that's now, I just had a little baby deer walk into my yard. That's why it's so peaceful here, because I deal in academic knowledge of these terrible events. And yet I live on 100 acres by myself, and I'm visited all day long by nature. And nature starts with God with a capital G. But I don't think we're going to be attacked by anybody in an organized fashion. The U.S. military, as I mentioned, they activated all 50 states of the Army and Air National Guard, either to be deployed to the 17 most likely uh, places that would be targeted by idiots. Anybody committing terror is an idiot. And because sometimes the guns will get pointed on you. And I just found out this morning about something called I think it was the Hermitage Massacre. Nope, maybe I'll look it up. I mean, I've got notes and I'm not speaking from notes right now. But there was a slaughter of 16 people in, I just thought of it. It's funny how mine can stop and then go again. Yeah, it was Hungerford, Hungerford, a man that apparently had some type of a mental problem, attacked and killed 16 people, including his own mother and himself. Well, why don't you just save the other 15 people and just shoot yourself? Because if you're a hazard to the safety of the public, then you shouldn't be welcome walking the streets of any city in any country. That's just my conservative viewpoint. But I'm really ready to change gears whenever you are, Jenny, if we have some questions coming.
All right, let's go for it. All right, everybody, I've unmuted a few hands. So if you have a question for Field, please feel free to raise your hand and I will unmute your mic. Also, too, if you cannot speak here, go ahead and write your question under the logo. It says Field McConnell on the wall and I will read it to him. So, okay, I have Mary G. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead and ask Field your question.
Hi, Field. Hi, Jenny. Thanks for letting me speak.
Hello.
I've got a question for Field. Now, Q, right? We know about Q, the military and President Trump. There's not very many that know, right? And the 17 cities that you're talking about, there are some satanic sites. Am I right on that? That are going to be either destroyed, and it may look like war. Am I right in that, or am I totally off base? And I think I don't know for a fact, but our military would be in plain clothes, right? Are they? Am I right in saying that all over these places, and you wouldn't know it if you saw one?
Yeah. Well,
Am I
you're
right
right.
on that?
Yeah, I think, I've never heard this before from anybody, but if I were a PhD in logic, I think I'd award you 3 PhDs because I was keeping up with you when you were telling me stuff that I wasn't aware of, and it seems perfectly logical to me. And there was a song in 1936 by a singer named Helen Turner, and whoever that clarinet player was he was very good. But it's called "You Turn the Tables on Me." And see, Donald Trump is a master of turning the tables on evil. And if what you say is accurate, and I have no reason to doubt you or what you say, well, then if Donald Trump is a 12-dimensional chess player like he's thought to be, if you knew what these satanic structures were, you could go in there and destroy them, because the end game and the big picture is Donald Trump and many of the current people that have replaced the horrible politicians. And notice for the record, I didn't say Mitch McConnell, same name as me, only he's part of the problem and I'm helping with the solution. But I would caution anybody, whether they're from America or from a foreign country, if you start something, it may well be Trump and the military white hats who destroy all the satanic structures, one of which is the Washington Monument. And I don't want to get into something that's rather adult, but that monument, which is the tallest monument, I believe, in Washington, D.C. I've seen it many times. I went to college in Annapolis, just up the road, and I was in the Marine Corps at Quantico, just down the road. But that was a sexually suggested structure, and yet the countries that built it or designed it, they were trying to humiliate America's thanks to God for creating the nation that God himself created. There were some Native Americans that might have come across from Russia through Alaska that inhabited our country early on. Then there were sailing ships from major ports in Europe that that brought settlers, people that wanted to come to the new world. And it has been a new world. It's just, I think July 4th, Trump is celebrating the 250th anniversary of America becoming large and capable. And as we just saw in Iran, those B-2 bombers from Whiteman, Whiteman Air Force Base in Sedalia, Missouri, they traveled from Sedalia, Missouri, all the way over to Iran, and they were not seen coming because they're very stealthy. And I think that everyone that hates America probably should get a tattoo across their forehead that says FAFO. That, in a nutshell, is Donald Trump's policy. Fuck around and find out, because he warns them. And I find it interesting, and I think the lady I'm talking to mentioned that there were 17 sites in America that had satanic artwork. Did I get that number correct, ma'am? 17?
Well, there's 17, but it's worldwide. One of them is, I do believe, it's the Statue of Liberty. And there's a bridge. They'll probably take out some bridges, but that would be to keep people from running the ones they're hunting right now. And I would assume it would be after we get an EAS, which tells everybody that might need to go get in their house and have a seat for a while and don't go outside, because if you do, they're not going to know you from the bad guy. So you might want to listen to the military. That's just what I'm hearing. And I'm hearing we're really close to this all being over with Trump making the 4th of July. The 3rd of July is going to be humongous. But the 4th of July is going to be a huge celebration, I think. And we're going to be getting a lot of good things. And it's nice to get good things after we've been in the fight. And some of us way, way longer than me. Or, I know you have, Bill, but I know you're ready to have everybody be finally free. It don't matter what color you are, you're going to be free.
Yes, we were the home of the brave and the land of the free, or maybe I got that backwards, but we've been lied to. It's, from the time the media came out, they were paid by some rogue elements within our own supposed government. We've been lied to. And, there's so many people, and you're a good example, young lady. There's so many people who are aware of all the lies and all the fake attacks that, we've heard this before. We've seen it before. Some of us have lived it before. And there's plenty of people in the United States of America, and this is going to surprise some ladies out there. Many of them are mothers that would do anything to protect their children. And I apologize for crying right now, but I'm expecting my 10th grandchild. And if these organized pedophiles would happen to come within visual range of me, they might get a one-way ticket to hell, because I would like to change the motto, from America, maybe to don't traffic children anywhere in the globe, or America will find the perpetrators and then introduce them to God. And that means that people leave here, they go up they get a meeting with God and Jesus, and then they can either stay in heaven if they're good people, or then go to hell. And anybody that's trafficking children probably is going to have a very short interview, and then they'll arrive in hell. And that makes me sound fairly conservative. Some people would say very educated. Some people might say, um, a devout Christian, and all of those things are probably true. But I myself, and I'm 75, I'm not athletic. I'm also not fat, but I'm not blind, and I'm not hard of hearing. And if I were to hear a child scream and then a mother to scream, I would turn to the source of the screams, and I would go over there and end the suffering, and maybe help the perpetrators find out, well, find out what Trump says. Fuck around and find out. Leave our children alone. Leave the children of every nation, red and yellow, black and white. They're precious in his sight. And don't harm children. Let them grow up. And the mothers, if you look at nature, it's the mother bears that will go attack a human if the human gets into a threatening range of her cub or cubs. And if animals can protect their children, wouldn't it be nice if mothers could convince their husbands to figure out how best to protect their children? And I'm very happy to say on Jenny's show that I'm happy and sad both, but 5 years ago, my then wife Denise and I started a group called the Children's Crusade. And she died of natural causes, so don't anybody fall into the trap of thinking somebody wanted her dead. No, I wanted her alive. But I was falsely accused, and I was never proven guilty of a crime, and yet I was detained for 16 months, and I was released about 10 days after Denise died. And so I take this stuff very seriously. And Donald Trump knows my name. What do I mean by that? He apparently likes the way I operate when it comes to protecting children worldwide. And the Children's Crusade, when it comes back, the first meeting is going to be in Dallas. And there's 4 or 5 ladies that have indicated an interest in helping me with the leadership of the Children's Crusade. And the reason I had not been active, for the last 5 years is because my wife had died. And how does a man that's not married stand up in a crowd of 500 or 1,000 people and say that he's passionate about the protection of children? Okay, a lot of people, if any of you listening in America knew how many of our politicians were involved in child trafficking, you probably would want to vomit or punish the perpetrators. And I'm on that team. If I find out about child trafficking, I don't sit there quietly. I expose it. And how do I expose it? I expose it on podcast. If there's any others as good as Jenny, I haven't found them. Or a conference is a great place to share truthful message, for people that don't like the evil in the world, where we can get rid of the evil. And Donald Trump started a good job. So did I
Yes,
come close to answer?
yes, you did,
Go
and
ahead.
thank you so much, Phil, for your service. I know that my mayor is a pedophile. He is a registered sex offender. Our mayor, and nobody voted against him. And if you've done something to children, most of them got records. They're going to know. And our phones
Yeah.
and our computers are pretty dangerous too, especially for a pedophile. Because since Melania Trump's Take It Down Act, there's been 3 people where I work at arrested for that, child porn. So they're not playing.
Yeah.
And Thank you so much for your service, Field. I appreciate it. And Jenny, bless your heart. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you for being here, my friend. All
Thanks,
right.
Mary. God bless you.
All right, sir, go out. You're next. Go ahead.
Hey y'all.
Hello.
I'll try to be a little briefer this time. I'm sorry it took so much time last time, and thank y'all so much for everything you do, especially Jenny. What you do, getting Phil's message out, and Phil's message is just so important that the world needs to hear what I've heard since the day MH370 happened. And one of the things that kind of came to mind while you were talking is that, are we expecting a 9/11 style event? I mean, my thought is the closest thing would be when it comes to emotional response, maybe a financial type deal. But Field has always said that the truth about 9/11 would come from outside of the United States. And what I feel like is that we're um, we're we're setting up the table for that to happen right now.
Well, I hope you're right, and I think you're right, and I think we are happier days ahead. But when there's a battle, and the battle that we're witnessing right now is the battle of good versus evil. And I'm not trying to sound like a poster boy for Donald Trump and his wife Melania, but I'm 75. I've never seen a more committed president. And I've been paying attention since I was in later high school. And in fact, I went to the same high school, Punahou School in Honolulu, Hawaii, that Barack H. Obama, who there is no Barack H. Obama, his name's Barry Soetoro, and his wife has a kickstand, and his name is Michael Levon Robinson. How can these powerful people be so stupid? I mean, I don't know how they can be stupid, but I would lay a lot of it at the feet of public education. And when I say that, and I didn't get to this third reading assignment. If people interested in my thoughts, historically speaking, back to 1892, in 1892, there was a meeting in Omaha, Nebraska, where a bunch of powerful people from Europe came over and they tried to lay out a plan for how they could control America and America's wealth in resources, in people, and in money. And one of their first tenets of the Bankers Manifesto of 1892 was poor public education. I mean, I, I wasn't even alive in 1892. I didn't write it, but I could lecture on it. Uh, they wanted to destroy our faith in God. They wanted to give us poor education. I think there's two more elements. But, you know, I don't know if there's anybody within the sound of my voice that went to a public high school or a public college, and those institutions taught about the Bankers Manifesto of 1892 or the Organic Act of 1871 or the Balfour Treaty of that was back in the 1700s. Yeah, there's been a lot of people working very hard to prevent America from rising to where it is today under Donald John Trump. And so I was sort of long-winded there. Did I answer your question, or did I help you at all, sir?
Yes, sir. That was exactly what I was thinking. One of the things I was noticed too is on the day that Donald Trump raised the new flag, that he'd also put a bust of Winston Churchill in the Oval Office, and I can't help but think between that and the talks the talk that's going around that apparently Donald Trump and Prince William seem to get along pretty well. Do you think that Donald Trump has taken control of Serco? Was that the message?
Well, you know, you're just like that lady she had really intuitive instincts about a topic about 20 minutes ago. Well, do you know the relationship? But wait a minute, is your call sign or is your fake name Circo Al?
Yes, sir.
Well, you're doing a good job because uh, the I think if Donald Trump, and now I'm getting out of my office chair, I'm gonna go sit in something comfortable because I'm really thinking hard, and I'm thinking hard because you've just touched on something that makes perfect sense to people that know things about Circo. Number one is there's a YouTube called Circo, the largest company you never heard of. Of course, they're never heard of because they do evil stuff. They want to take over the United States. And sometimes I get colorful with my language, and I do it on purpose, and I always regret doing it. But somebody's got to take down Circo, and it makes perfect sense. If Trump and Prince William are looking like they get along, well, that's an example of how Trump plays 12-dimensional chess. Prince William, you might know the answer to this more than I would. Prince William is either the principal stockholder in Circo or the only stockholder in Circo. And on the morning of MH370, and that would have been, let me just think of when that was, 2004, I think. Anyway, it was March 9th of 2004, I think. Is that right, Al? Do you know?
I was thinking it was later than that, 14 maybe.
Oh, what did I say? 2004?
Yes, sir. 2014, right?
Yeah.
Is it correct?
Yeah, it was March 9th of 2014. You corrected me well. Thank you. But do you know where Prince William is? Where he was on the morning of March 9th of 2014?
Well, from your reporting, he was in the Maldives, right?
Yes, and MH370 did a low pass over the Maldives. And I think that was a very significant hint to Circo. You're not going to kill people in airplanes anymore. And that, see, Circo, I think, originally hijacked MH370 at a oceanic waypoint called BITOD, BITOD. And then Circo didn't know enough to know that there was a back door to the Boeing Uninterruptible Autopilot. And I'm not being a rah-rah American. I think Americans ought to be proud of our country, but only to the degree for what they've done for our country. And that's going back to JFK. Don't ask what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. So anyway, when MH370 flew over the Maldives and turned to the left and went directly to Diego Garcia and landed safely, and they set the parking brake at 6:11 after they shut both engines down. I think that was the dumbest thing Circo ever did because they got caught. And it was a military exercise from numerous nations, including Vietnam, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, Australia. They had a huge military operation going that night and that morning. And I think that is the point where Circo exposed themselves, because why would Prince William be in the Maldives? Oh, he wanted to hang around and be close to the aircraft MH370 when it would be ditched in the South Indian Ocean. Yeah, not so fast, Prince Willie. Circo is not going to destroy my country, and I'm speaking as Field Mcconnell American, but I like people of every country, and I like good people of every country, and I'm a threat to bad people of every country. And what I mean by that, if you're trafficking children, like 800,000 a year, a couple of years ago, somebody's going to find out, and then you're going to be exposed. And it goes right back to a scripture in the Bible, Ephesians 5:11, have nothing to do with the evil deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I think those exercises you were talking about, if I remember, you the ones that reported on it, it was called Cope Tiger, and Cobra Gold. Was that correct out there?
Yes, I do. You're quite a student of this, aren't you?
Sir, I was a full on student of yours when this was going on since MH 370. So, because you were the only one I found that was actually telling the truth. So,
Yeah. Thank you for that compliment. But there's a guy out there, and I'll try to think of his name, but he claims to be the expert on MH370.
yeah,
And then
Forbes.
he goes on, who?
Forbes. Mr.
Yes.
Forbes.
What's his first name? It starts with an A, doesn't it?
I don't remember. The last name gave it away.
Ashton.
Yeah.
Field Ashton.
Forbes
Thank
gave
you.
it away to me. I mean, doesn't have to, anyway, go ahead.
No, I'm just impressed with your knowledge level because, see, now this is going to sound like I'm bragging. I'm not bragging. On the morning of MH370, which it arrived at Diego Garcia and set the parking brake at 6:11, I put out a YouTube before noon on the 9th of March of 2014. And the nature of the YouTube, it was titled The Boeing Uninterruptible Autopilot. And so within hours of them setting the parking brake on Diego Garcia in a hangar that could be satellites or manned aircraft, could not see what was in the hangar. What was in the hangar was MH370. And when no flight attendant showed up to door 1L, which stands for forwardmost door on the left side of the aircraft, the people that were standing by at the bottom of the stairs were surprised that no flight attendant was giving the signal to open the door. And that's by putting his or her right thumb up in the little circular plexiglass window. So they went up and let themselves in, and they found 239 dead people. So Circle, I think you got a lot of explaining to do. And I'm glad that Donald Trump is talking to Prince William, because Donald Trump seems to negotiate. And I think he wrote a book called The Art of the Deal. But when he negotiates with China or anything to do with England now, Trump has been quoted as saying he'd like to liberate the United Kingdom. And I think what he means, this is an I think, not I know. I think what he must mean is he'd like to liberate them from the stranglehold of the royals. And Prince William thinks he's a royal. I don't think he's a royal. I think his father was King Juan Carlos of Spain, and his mother was Princess Diana. And there's more to that story, but I think I've covered that enough. So I'll go on. JENNI, is this fellow done, or do you want to ask him some more questions?
Yeah, no, I've got some other hands I need to move on to. So thank you, Circo. Appreciate you being
Thank
here.
you. Just one more thing. I wanted to clarify on Flag Day. On Flag Day, they had Winston Churchill's bust in the Oval Office, and why that matters is because it's Winston Churchill's grandsons that are head of Serco. So I just wanted to point that out so people could understand why that mattered.
Thank you, Circo.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Miss Cowell, go ahead. Your mic is unmuted.
Good day. Getting back to you talking about the Washington Monument, isn't that same
Yes.
symbol standing in front of the Vatican?
That I don't know, but somebody in the chat room does. JENNI, do you think anybody that knows the answer to that question could raise their hand? Maybe we can get an answer for the lady. I simply don't know, but nothing would surprise me, because there's the cliche from long ago, all roads lead to Rome. Yeah, well, I don't want to offend any Catholic people, but child trafficking to a large degree has been controlled for a long time by the Jesuits. That's Jesuits. That's a branch of the Vatican. And see, the Jesuits I'll use my own words here. I think they're evil. That's why they wear red shoes. And the red shoes indicate or suggest the blood of children. Over to you, Jenny, or whoever's in charge.
Well, I think you're right, and I believe that. I don't know if you know the answer to this. I'm just going to ask your opinion. This new pope that is supposedly sitting here right now, I'm not really sure if he's really the real deal. And I'm just wondering, going forward, is there really going to be a pope going forward, or is this the end of it?
Let's hope it's the end of it. But you obviously have a lot of knowledge about the Vatican and the Jesuits and, the images. But I have a contact that actually it's three ladies. I call them church ladies. They were in my house about 2 months ago. And one of the ladies was from the Chicago area and was well acquainted, not personally, but she was very much aware of the history of that guy that became the first American pope. And it was suggested to me that he had been a pedophile. And, when it comes to Trump being a master chess player, that would be another negotiation that he wins, because if the United States or some element of our government or our white hats would sink their teeth into the background of that guy, he might be removed as the Pope. And that would be very significant if the the country I live in, the United States of America, if they could expose a pedophile, whatever you call them, it's one step below going to the, it's anyway, the head of I guess it'd be the Chicago diocese. Yeah, if you have a guy in power in the Catholic Church and it's proven he has a past as a pedophile, well, that should end his career right there. And of course, depending on if it's true, when it occurred, if it occurred since Donald Trump has said that the penalty for trafficking children is going to be death, he might not be long for the world. And then, I'm talking about the American Pope right now. And then he would have an opportunity to plead his case to God and Jesus and see if he could stay in heaven or if he would be going to the smoking section, as we airline people like to say. Of course, that was long ago when you could smoke on the airplanes, but this is, I think I learn more than I teach when I come on Jenny's show. And I would just give Jenny a compliment, and it's heartfelt, that I think that you attract some pretty good people into your chat room. And we haven't, I don't think there's been a single case so far today of your chat room being very knowledgeable and willing to communicate. Over to you, Jenny.
Thank you, Field. Thank you, Cal. Okay, Linda Hendricks, go ahead. Your mic is unmuted.
Hi. I have the local TV stations on. They just did an hour of this retaliation thing, and I feel it's more fear porn. Fear porn, fear porn.
Yeah,
They don't
I think. Go
spend that
ahead.
much. They didn't even spend that much time on Trump's maneuvers, but an hour straight. I mean, they interrupted local news, the next channel or the next program. Yeah, I feel they want us in fear. They want everybody panicking.
That's what the media has been doing, and the government of the United States, hand in hand, for a long, long time.
Yeah,
But there's other people. Am I correct, ma'am?
I feel so.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, one thing that the old government of the U.S. Notice I didn't say Mitch McConnell again. I wish he'd change his name. Maybe to Linda McDermott or something like that. But he's not representative of McConnell, which is a very small clan that started in northern Scotland, and then it moved to Northern Ireland and then to Canada and the U.S. And most McConnells that I know of, with the exception of Mitch, who's got a colorful background, and I won't run him through the mud anymore. I've done it enough where he's probably gone. But, the times are changing, and some of us are stepping up. And I would say, to a large degree, some of the most active protectors of children in America are mothers. And mothers should suggest to their husband, and you don't have to be married to have a child. I know that. But a husband should not only provide for his family, but hopefully allow his wife to stay at home and nurture the kids.
Oh, we lost you, Field. You're muffled.
Yep, I'm back, Jenny.
Hi, I hear you. It's loud and clear.
Yeah,
Good night.
that was an incoming call from somebody, the lady that's sort of a medical caregiver to me. Her name's Heidi. So I'll have to go to that call when I'm done with you, or you're done with me. But now I gotta go sign into your chat room again, because that call blocked me off your chat room, I think.
Oh, no. You're in here. You're here. We hear you. We hear you.
Yes, okay, well, I can see me now.
Okay,
That's not a
good.
pretty sight. Anyway, yeah, do we have some more questions, do you think?
Yes, we do. Thank you, Linda. All
Yep.
right. Miss Bobby, go ahead. Your mic is unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, I just wanted to thank Field McConnell. I've wanted to speak to you for years. Way back when, 2015 or so, I ran across Tim Homestead, and he led me to you. And I
Okay.
listened and I listened and I held to every word. You taught me so much. I've always questioned everything. When I was in sixth grade, I went home from school that day and told my mom and dad, I don't understand how JFK got shot. That's not what had happened. And something went on in the grassy knoll. Well, that wasn't it, but I was on to something and I questioned everything. And
Mhm.
then I found you. You taught me so much. And then when 9/11 happened, I was sitting in the classroom with a room full of kids, and I'm going, look at that. That building could not fall down like that. And I talked to other teachers, and they said, Bobby, what are you thinking? But I found the kids, you taught me how to research, how to use my discernment, how to question everything, how to search for answers myself. And I cannot thank you enough. I believe you saved my life. And all that led to researching the COVID and all the stuff that's happened. I and I'm trying to convince my family, and I have two boys. One guy is on the fence. The other one says I'm crazy. And last time I talked to him about, I said, "Honey, I'm not crazy. I'm insane." I said, "You'll find out
Yeah,
one day." But I am just thrilled. You've made my day. That I personally can thank you for keeping me going in the right direction and giving me faith. And I'd walk the floor. When I really found out about the dumbs and all the babies, I would cry all night and walk the floors. What can I do? So I guess I'm just a digital soldier and pass the word on. I'm not one to talk much, and this is really out of context for me. I don't do this, but I pass on what I find, and I talk to
yeah,
friends and
I know.
family. And thank you, thank you so much. You have just changed my life.
Thank you, Bobby. Go ahead,
Well,
Field.
thank you. And I think that, yeah, thanks, Bobby. Yeah, I was just going to say, the greatest thing you can do as a concerned American is to pray to the God that is protecting America right now, because there's so many ugly, evil people around the world. And I've mentioned the Organic Act of 1871 and the Bankers Manifesto of 1892 and the Balfour, BALFOUR doctrine. Um, I sort of feel sorry for the bad guys because they're so easy to find. They leave a trail. That includes Serco. I mean, Serco wanted to take that airplane, and now we're going to get Israel involved because there were 4 engineers, software engineers on that flight that owned 80% of the stock in a technology Freescale, I think it was called. Well, the 5th guy on that patent, there were the 4 engineers from Freescale that were on board MH370, and one of the Rothschilds, and I think it was Jacob, was the other one. And so when they died, they got gassed to death, by Serco. That's my allegation, and prove me wrong, Serco. This is sort of called guerrilla warfare. I'm not a guerrilla. I'm an erect primate, but I'm not a guerrilla. But if the governments, like in this case, the United States government won't take care of the American people, I will. And the tide has turned when Hillary thought she could beat Trump, which she was absolutely wrong, of course. But my connection to Hillary is my sister, and Hillary helped George H.W. Bush do the slaughter on 9/11. And I'm not dead yet, and I'm not afraid of them. I think they're afraid of me. And that's the way it should be, because I'm honest and I care and I love God. And conversely, God loves me. Over to you, Jenny, or this young lady.
Thank you, Field. All right. Thank you, Bobby. All right, Linda Mason, your mic is unmuted. And then I have 2 other hands after that. So go ahead, Linda Mason. Okay. All right. Freedom's friend, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead. Go ahead, Freedom's friend. Your mic is unmuted. All right, everybody, I got to move on. Field gives us 90 minutes of his time, so we got about 15 more minutes left. So Susan C., your mic is unmuted. Go ahead.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm responding to the woman cow that was about 4 people ago about the Washington Monument. And I believe it's the exact same size at the Vatican and also in London. The 3 places, we all know what they are. But
I know what they are. They're sovereign territory.
yeah.
See, Washington, D.C. is not a member of America.
Right.
It's District of Columbia, and I think Trump's might gonna consider changing that to either a ghost town or the what's it called? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I get tongue-tied sometimes when Jenny makes me talk too much. But go ahead. Yeah, no, I like to talk on Jenny's show because go ahead. I'll be quiet.
On maps, it doesn't say Washington D.C. now.
Good.
So that's taken away. But the other thing with the obelisk, when I was in Italy a number of years ago, there were a number of small ones scattered around Rome that I saw. I don't know. It was probably almost 20 years ago that I was there. So I don't remember how many, but I do remember one in particular, and it was in front of a church. And so I thought, I keep seeing these things as we were, going around Rome. So anyway, that's all I had, except one more thing. I hope I'm one of the 5 that you mentioned earlier with your children's program, because I did
Yes,
send.
Children's Crusade.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, it's called the Children's Crusade.
I had sent, and this is going back months, I sent something to Jenny about it, and then I did email you about it. So I hope I'm one of the 5.
Thank you,
Well,
Susan.
yeah, thank you, Susan.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. I've got one more question for you, Phil, from Vanita R. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead. Go ahead, Vanita. Your mic is unmuted. Okay, bye. They left. Okay, and they're back. Vanita, do you have a question for Field? Go ahead. Your mic is unmuted.
I am so sorry. I don't. I'm listening.
Okay,
I love you guys. Thank you for being there. I hit the wrong button.
no worries. You're
Bye-bye.
on video, so you may
Oh,
want to click the video off
okay.
too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vanita. All right, Ski Patrol. I'm going to unmute your mic. Go ahead, Ski Patrol. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead, Ski Patrol. Your mic is unmuted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was on. This is the first time I've commented. I'm a long time listener, but the first time I've commented. Sorry about that. I just had a comment about the Pope. And I was raised Catholic, and my family members, my aunts, my uncles, daily mass, we love the Pope. Or I mean, they don't know that the Pope, what has been going on. And I just quick comment, Catholic priests, and there's an order priest, bishop, deacon, priest, bishop, cardinal, whatever. It goes all the way up. You can be a member of an order like a Jesuit or Dominican or Franciscan, or you can be an archdiocesan priest. So I think a lot of times the priests all get put into the same bucket as the Jesuits, but that's only one component. And I have a very good friend who is a Catholic priest. He's been a Catholic priest for decades. He's an archdiocesan priest, very awake in the Chicago area. And he keeps a low profile because he knows he's in the minority. When the new Pope was announced, I talked to him and his comment was, I've never heard of him and I've never seen him. So it's very interesting because it's a small community of Catholic priests in the Chicago area. So I just thought that was very interesting.
Thank you, Ski Patrol. Appreciate that. And one thing I want to say back to, we were talking about, DC no longer has the DC on it. I think what people need to understand is, that was a territory, right? And it's no longer captured. So DC is no longer there. And the flags that Trump put up on the front and the north and south lawn, I believe, of the White House has very significant meaning to it. It basically is showing, because that has not, I don't think, ever been done or been done in a long time. So that, again, is showing that DC is no longer a captured territory, meaning, corporation. So that's huge, everybody. And again, like I'm saying, if you're not following anybody or you're wondering who to follow Donald J. Trump, Il Donato Trumpo, because that's him. He's already confirmed that that's him. He's telling us, everybody, he's telling us more directly than ever, not so cryptid, not so coded. But that was a significant, huge, pivotal move that he did with those flags on the White House lawn. So, Field, do you want to give any closing statements before we head out of here?
Yes, I want to give you a compliment for attracting the most well-informed and articulate chat room. And I've only been in a few chat rooms because I don't consider myself a chat room type, but I guess I am because I'm with you every Monday. And I also want to thank all the mothers out there, and I want to thank all the believers out there. And, this world belongs to God. And Donald Trump works for God. And Melania Trump works for God. And, we're blessed to be living in this country at this time. And if God and Jesus and Donald and Melania are for us, who can be against us? And I think nobody. I think God will settle the score and Trump will take the credit because God's too humble to want to take the credit for the things he does. But he hires, I'm talking about God, he will attract people that can do a difficult job. And it's written in Psalm 94:16 and Ephesians 5:11. So I just say to all the believers out there, keep the faith. We're in good shape and we've got our best days ahead of us. Thank you for the opportunity for me to speak, Jenny. Over to you.
Amen, Phil. That was beautiful. I love how that's a good way to end this. But I do have one more hand that I did unmute. Son of God, go ahead and ask Field your question. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead, Son of God. Okay. All right. So apparently they're not there either. So Field, everybody, Field is here. Great show today, Field. God bless you. We love you very much. And Field is here with us, everybody, every Monday, same time, same place. So if you want to come back next Monday, he'll be here, right, Field?
Yes, yes, ma'am, I will.
All right. And then everybody come back later this afternoon, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll have John Baxter from Anti-Aging MedBed. And then let's see, Wednesday, we've got Captain Kyle at 5:30 Central Standard Time. And then we're going to have Josh Reed, the human encyclopedia, I call him, as many others do. He will be here to talk about the updates of with what's going on here with Iran and the U.S. So everybody stay vigilant, eyes on God, no fear, everybody. Stay positive, stay out of the noise. A lot of fear mongering going on out there. And hang in there, buddy. We've got this. We've won this. God has already won this. We are going to be okay. But pay attention. A lot is going on as we are having this podcast right now. I live by a military base, and those, let me tell you that these planes are flying lower than ever, and they're doing things with the helicopters. They call them training, the drills, whatever, but we're seeing the soldiers kind of stand on the outsides of the, on that little railing, whatever, with their weaponry, doing some type of drills, letting us here know, the residents, not to be fearful, but that is what's going on. But we know there's a bigger picture behind all that, everybody. So stay in faith, everybody. We got this. And Field, God bless you. Love you. We'll talk to you. We'll talk to you in either the little chat or I'll talk to you on Monday.
Okay, either one sounds good. Thank you, and God bless you, Jenny. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you, Field. God bless you. Have a great day, everybody. We'll talk soon.